Chapter 21. The Fires of Eldara. The trio reached the edge of the towering Eldara mountains at dusk, the sky a deep purple bruised with dark clouds. Across a yawning chasm, a colossal fortress, the forges of Eldara, rose from the mountain's heart, carved directly into stone. Its spires reached skyward, and a thick plume of smoke ascended from a central chimney. The air around the forges shimmered with the glow of distant flames, the aura of ancient magic clinging to the rocks. Azural felt the energy pulsing from the fortress, a familiar hum of power that resonated within her. She took a step forward, her gaze fixed on the faintly glowing entrance across the chasm. The bridge before them was cracked and narrow, overgrown with twisted roots and vines. Talvar put a steadying hand on her shoulder, his gaze shifting from her to the ancient structure with a wary skepticism. "Do you really think this place holds the key to freeing yourself from Malakar's bond?" he asked, his voice just above a whisper. Azural's eyes narrowed, determination sharpening her features. "It's more than a key, Talvar. I can feel it. Eldara's fires. They call to something in me. If we're to have any chance of facing him, we need whatever power lies within." Soraya stepped forward, her fingers tracing symbols in the air, scanning the ancient runes on the bridge. "The forges are sacred ground to those who guard secrets. Tread carefully. Eldara won't let us pass without testing our resolve." With a deep breath, Azural took the first step onto the bridge, her flames casting a soft blue glow around her. Each step felt heavier than the last, the weight of ancient magic pressing down on her. Talvar and Soraya followed, their eyes scanning the shadows around them, alert for any sign of movement. Midway across, a dense fog rolled in, swirling around them until they could barely see their own hands. Shadows flitted at the edges of their vision, voices whispering in an ancient language, their words carrying a faint warning. "This place, it's testing us," Soraya murmured, her voice steady but laced with awe. "The guardians of Eldara want to know if we're worthy." Azural's jaw tightened, her flames flickering in response to the whispering voices. "We don't have time for tests," she muttered, pressing forward. Then, as they neared the bridge's end, a figure emerged from the mist, cloaked in shadow, its eyes glowing with a fierce, otherworldly light. Talvar raised his sword instinctively, his stance defensive. The figure's voice was like stone grinding against stone. "You seek the fires of Eldara, yet carry shadows within your hearts. To pass you must confront that which binds you." The figure raised a hand, and suddenly the ground beneath them rumbled. Dark tendrils of shadow emerged, twisting and coiling around them, pulling at their memories, dredging up their deepest fears. Azural staggered, her vision blurring as flashes of her past appeared, visions of a life shrouded in fire, moments of helplessness and rage as she watched everything around her burn. She could feel Malakar's presence looming, his voice a whisper in her mind, taunting her, reminding her of the darkness within. "You cannot escape me, Draconis Ignis Aeterni," his voice echoed, cold and mocking. "Your fire is nothing but a shadow of my power. You will always be bound to me." Azural clenched her fists, her flames flaring as she fought against the images. "I am not yours, Malakar," she whispered, her voice a fierce defiance. Next to her, Talvar was grappling with his own memories, a battlefield strewn with the bodies of his fallen comrades, the weight of his failures pressing down on him like a crushing force. He saw the faces of those he had betrayed, and those who had betrayed him, each one a reminder of the price he had paid for his loyalty. Soraya, her face pale, was lost in memories of her time under Malakar's tutelage, the whispers of forbidden magic, the promises of power that had once lured her into his web. She could feel his gaze on her, cold and calculating, a reminder of the choices that had led her here. But as the shadows tightened around them, a quiet strength stirred within each of them. Talvar took a steadying breath, his hand reaching for Azural's shoulder. "We've come too far to be stopped now," he murmured, his voice a calm resolve. "Together we face this." Soraya raised her hands, her magic flaring as she whispered an incantation, weaving a protective ward around them. "These are only shadows of what we once were," she said, her voice steady. "We are stronger than our pasts." Azural let out a breath, her flames blazing brighter as she focused on the fire within her, pushing back against Malakar's presence. The shadows recoiled, the whispers fading as the trio's combined strength shattered the illusions. The figure watched, silent and unmoving, then inclined its head in acknowledgement. "You have proven yourselves. The fires of Eldara will receive you." The fog lifted, and the ancient doors to the forges swung open, revealing a cavern filled with the soft glow of molten rock. Azural stepped forward, her heart pounding as she felt the power of the forges resonate within her, like a flame long denied its true fuel. As they entered, the air grew heavy with heat and magic, the walls lined with ancient runes that pulsed in time with her heartbeat. In the center of the chamber, a great brazier held a blue flame, burning with a fierce, steady light. Azural approached the flame, feeling its warmth wash over her, filling her with a sense of purpose and belonging. She reached out, her hand hovering just above the flame, and felt a surge of power unlike anything she had ever known. Soraya's voice broke the silence. "The prophecy speaks of the Draconis Ignis Aeterni, the fire that will restore balance. This is your power, Azural. Claim it." Azural closed her eyes, letting the flame flow into her, feeling its warmth spread through her veins, filling every part of her being. She could feel the bond with Malakar weakening, his hold over her slipping as the power of Eldara's fire merged with her own. But as the flames reached their peak, a cold voice echoed through the chamber, a familiar mocking tone that sent a chill down her spine. "Do you truly believe you can escape me, Azural?" Malakar's form appeared in the shadows, his presence a dark stain against the purity of the fire. His eyes gleamed with malice as he watched her, his voice filled with a dark promise. "You may wield the fire, but it will never be enough to defeat me." Azural's eyes blazed with defiance, her flames flaring as she faced him. "This power is mine, Malakar, and with it I will end you." Malakar's smile twisted, his form flickering as he extended a hand, dark energy swirling around him. "Then show me, Draconis Ignis Aeterni. Show me the power of your fire." With a roar, Azural unleashed her flames, sending a torrent of blue fire surging toward him. Malakar's shadow twisted, absorbing the impact, but Azural could feel the strength of Eldara's fire within her, pushing back against his darkness, burning with a fierce, unyielding light. The ground trembled, the chamber filled with the clash of light and shadow as they fought, their powers colliding in a fierce blaze that shook the very foundations of the forges. Talvar and Soraya stood at her side, their strength bolstering her, their resolve unwavering. Malakar's form wavered, his power weakening under the onslaught of Azural's flames. His gaze locked onto hers, his expression a mix of fury and fear. "This isn't over," he hissed, his form beginning to dissolve into shadow. "You may have the fire, but the shadows will always find you." As his presence faded, Azural lowered her hands, her flames dimming but her resolve unbroken. She turned to her friends, a quiet strength in her gaze. They had faced Malakar's darkness and emerged victorious, but she knew the battle was far from over. Together they left the forges, the weight of the fire now fully hers to wield. The journey ahead was uncertain, and the shadow still loomed, but Azural knew that whatever lay ahead, she would face it with the fire of Eldara at her side, a light that would burn away even the darkest of shadows.